Good morning, welcome back to Norfolk and Snetterton for the GB3 Championship. A much colder morning this morning, Piers. It was, in the 20s yesterday. Currently says around 16 degrees, a little bit of wind here, which isn't abnormal for Snetterton. And we saw an excellent start yesterday from James Headley. I mean, absolutely blew everyone else away to win his second race in the GB3 Championship.
Yeah, launched off the line from the outside of the third row of the grid. Managed to take the lead going around the outside of turn one, and then, pulled away and held the position there, but he was closely followed by Matthew Rees the whole way.
Yeah, and obviously Callum Voisin, a driver we're going to hear from a little bit later in this pre-show build-up. Really, really consistent, continuously getting on the podium, getting points, and really up there. And I feel like he's a much more mature driver this year than we saw last year, Piers.
Yes, we've said that so many times in commentary. He's been right there in every single race. Hasn't won a race yet this season, which is hard to believe, considering the number of podiums he's had. I think it's 6 podiums now or something like that. So yeah, he's really mounting a proper championship challenge. The maturity's there. I spoke to him and his mum yesterday after the race, and they were like, yep, absolutely take a third place. Even though he qualified second, he was happy with a third. More points, and they said to me, quite literally, points mean prizes.
I did have a look at the tyres, actually, because you and Lewis on commentary talked about the fact that because he wasn't challenging the top two, perhaps maybe he was saving his tyres a little bit. He kind of agreed with me, and I had a look at the tyres after everyone had gone away to do the podium, and his tyres were looking in a lot better shape than the top two drivers who pushed each other all the way. So it's going to be interesting to see how he manages that in this second and third race today. But we've talked about it enough. Let's see the highlights from yesterday's first round in the GB3 Championship here at Snetterton.
Highlights from the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Round 10, the first race of the Snetterton weekend, and it was Matthew Rees starting from pole position. However, the best start of everyone came from James Headley from fourth. He went around the outside and took the race lead down into Riches. Meanwhile, championship leader Joseph Loke was under an awful lot of pressure from Kuharczyk. Unfortunately, running wide with Nico Christodoulou after losing his front wing contact coming through Palmer. He would run out wide. He'd return to pit lane and unfortunately would retire from the race. Costa Taparis having a bit of an issue coming through the first corner at Riches. Having a bit of a spin, would drop from the back end of the top 10 all the way to the back end of the top 20 and the back end of the field as well. He'd start his comeback charge by getting past Max Esterson coming into turn one, and those two would battle their way for 20th position. Unfortunately, not a position we expect either of those two to be fighting in. This was effectively the star of the show, though. Jared Wilburski versus Oliver Stewart. It was absolutely fantastic. Side by side for the first section, side by side on the exit of Palmer as well. Ollie Stewart coming out on top in all of that, as Jared Wilburski would drop down the order. Matthew Rees was trying to keep James Headley under pressure at the front of the field, was not able to find his way through, and James Headley for Arden VRD, after starting from fourth position, worked his way up to the race lead and took his second victory of the season ahead of Matthew Rees and Callum Voisin.
And so championship standings then in the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. After 10 races, a championship lead switch. Callum Voisin will now move to the top, 5 points clear over Joseph Loke. After that, 6th place finish for Loke, 3rd place finish for Callum Voisin. Then we get Alex Dunn in 3rd position again, still kind of closing in and holding up to the championship lead. James Headley, after that race win, is in 4th with Kuharczyk, then Cresswell, Matthew Rees, John Bennett, Jared Wilburski and Costa Paris rounding out the top 10 after finishing in 21st position. Then we get David Morales, who put on a bit of a decent show yesterday. Michael Shin in 12th, then Nico Christodoulou, Gerard Shea, Max Esterson with some big struggles around here. We'll be starting from the back of the grid in all 3 races this weekend. Noah Ping will start is 16th, and then Ayeta Iwasaki, Oliver Stewart, Edward Pearson and Suta Arau down in 20th, moving his way up. Then Lucas Staiko, Zach Taylor, Arthur Roujon, and a race winner back in Alton Park, Daniel Mavliatov, holding up the standings in 24th.
We've managed to grab Alex Dunn here at the high-tech Pulsate awning. Alex, we've just had a look at the highlights from yesterday. Strong qualifying, didn't go all completely to plan in the race, but pace has been there recently, especially considering how fast you were at Spa.
Yeah, I think definitely we've made a step forward, myself and with the car as well. I think we've kind of started to get our headers around it a little bit more and, have some progress. And yeah, the pace has been really strong. I think qualifying didn't really go to plan. I think the pace we had in practice, I would have arguably said we were probably one of, if not the quickest. So I think we made slightly the wrong call with tyres, so I only managed P4. And then in the race, I think I made a good start, but James made an incredible one. I don't think I could have done that start if I tried. But yeah, at the end of the day, 4th was all I could manage. I just tried to stay consistent in the position I was. Happily, I was able to get the fastest lap on the last lap, which was pretty good.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, difficult one, but still pretty happy.
And you're definitely in the championship hunt now, I would argue, especially considering another strong result in race 1. We've got 2 more races this weekend, of course, another grid from qualifying and then the reverse grid later. potentially some chance of some showers. Would that help you, Hindi? What do you reckon?
I mean, to be honest, I'm not too fussed on the conditions. I think previously in testing here, the pace was strong in both. I think ideally I feel a little bit more comfortable in the car when it's a bit warmer. I think in practice it was really hot, and I think that's when our pace was really, really strong. But we'll have to wait and see. I think we're quick in all conditions, so I'm not too fussed.
Brilliant. Well, it's good to hear that you're confident no matter what happens. And finally, on the championship, of course, not far away now, it's you, Callum Voice and Joseph Loken. There's a few people that could potentially get involved towards the end of the season. Are you thinking championship? Of course, this is your first season in this championship. You've got, obviously, championship wins in other seasons. What are you thinking about in going into each race weekend, each round, each race?
Yeah, I'm just taking it race by race. Of course, the championship, if I do the best I possibly can and get good and consistent results, and I'm constantly at the sharp end, then the championship naturally will come with that as well. I think, I just have to do the best I can. Focus on not being in incidents, getting the most points I can in a weekend, and then naturally, then I think as the year goes on, I'll probably start to think about it a little bit more. But at the moment, I'm just taking it race by race.
Probably a good outlook on that. And of course, one of your main championship rivals, Callum Voisin, he's a second-year driver. Do you reckon that makes a bit of a difference in terms of experience for the championship, or is it just another season, another race car?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable with the car at this point. I think I'm experienced enough in cars to kind of understand how to get my head around the car quickly. So yeah, I don't think it makes too much of a difference.
Brilliant. Well, 2 more races this weekend. Let's have a look at the track in a bit more detail.
The Snetterton circuit in Norfolk has been a test for all drivers in Great Britain over the last 70 or so years. Opened in 1951, first raced in 1953. It's gone through variations over that time, including the current layout that we have, the Snetterton 300, which was opened in 2011, making that inner section where you've got the likes of Agostini and Hamilton and Oggies. It's a very difficult circuit, one that certainly from an elevation standpoint doesn't look too testing, but from a race circuit standpoint certainly is so. 2.9 miles around, just a shy under 3 miles, and you can see very little elevation, but that means nothing on this circuit. It is tricky, it is testing, it has some brutal corners, the likes of Agostini, the likes of Brundle into Nelson, Coram into Murray's. That final section is what creates this circuit to be such a test and such a great overtaking circuit.
We're back with Max Maserati. We're now down at Williams Corner, which is probably one of the most important corners on the circuit. It's a long corner, comes off the back of Oggies, which is quite technical, but as you can see, rolls out onto the long Bentley straight. Max, tell us why it's so critical.
If you get this wrong, you're probably either going to be passed. That's the most likely thing. If you get it wrong, you're going to be passed. But also, where the curbs are on the exit, if you actually run a little bit too wide and get again on that green part, it'll lift the front up, and it could actually do the tub, which is the most integral part of a race.
Do some damage to it.
Once that's damaged, your weekend's basically over unless you can basically replace the tub. It's a lot of work for the mechanics.
Yeah, and it's actually quite a technical corner because it's almost sort of just over 90 degrees, and the apex, as you can see here, is very long, and you're in the corner for quite a long time. It's slightly off camber, as you can kind of see, and it kind of drags you off the circuit as well, especially if you're right behind someone.
Exactly, and you have the bumps on the exit as well. So just when you think you're at the exit and you're safe, you suddenly hit these bumps, and you really feel it in the car, and you can see it on the onboards of cars with the steering as they suddenly get jagged as they come through to the exit here. But that's also how you know you've done it right. If you get right out to the red and white part of the curbs, but just not over it, that's when you've nailed this corner.
Yeah. And also, just Jon Jackson mentioned a moment ago, there's quite a lot of what he called guff on the outside of the circuit. Talk to us about what all this has out here and how that might affect you if you end up on it.
If you end up on it, I think really it's game over for down the straight. It's so hard though to get a good enough run out of the corner before to get up the inside here. I think we only really saw it once last year where Mills and Sherwood were battling, and that allowed me to then get up the inside of Sherwood. And then as we saw, once he was on the outside here, being on the inside enough, you're going to be understeering with the speed that you carry through. I had maximum lock on the steering, and I ran to the white line, and Sherwood, who's on my outside, just had no chance of staying on.
Yeah, and again, it's another one of those corners that really rubbers up. I'm hoping you can get this, but my feet are literally sticking to the circuit, so that's what happens over the race weekend. You have to make sure you get on that rubber, don't you?
Exactly, and that's also why, though, when it rains, you want to be right on the white line on the exit to where all the guff is. You want to be right where that is to be able to carry that speed and not be where all this rubber is, where you're just going to slide off.
Brilliant. Right, let's move on. We are down at the final section of the Snetterton 300 circuit, Max. We're going through Coram, which is that long, long left-hander that goes on forever, and then into Murray's, I believe, which is the last corner. It's probably one of the most difficult sections of circuits. You're braking and turning at the same time.
Yeah, this is extremely challenging. It's so tough. You know, when we came here on the Thursday, you know, I was saying to the guys, it's like one of the hardest corners to get right around here, especially because it feels so flowing, that last sector, until you get to this point. So you come out of the left right onto the bridge, and effectively you're on full throttle there all the way now until about here, where you start to see the boards, the black boards. And the thing is, like, GB4 doesn't have as much downforce as GB3, so you're still relying a lot on mechanical grip. So what you have to do is start blending out the throttle really, like, not really early, but, you know, gently, yeah, and it's really soft. If you like go harsh, you're already on the limit of the front tires. If you go harsh and, you know, you're all going to be steering right, you're effectively just going to tell the car to do this, and it will go right, and you're going to have these big oversteer moments. So you have to come out the throttle really gently, and then into the braking zone, you're doing the opposite of what you do at any other corner. When, you know, we tell them to have high peaks and then bleed out of the brake.
On a normal corner.
Exactly, yeah. Rather, into a corner like this, it's much more like you would if you were coming to stop at the traffic lights, where you're like pressing the brake on. But of course, you know, that doesn't mean you do that early. You're still maximising the braking zone. And this is where it gets really tricky, because you're coming into here, steering, blending out of the throttle nicely on the brake. And as you can see, the circuit actually wants to go more to the right, even though it's a left-hander. So you have to get the line right, so you're just nicely pointed to the corner, where you can then come out the brakes, ease back onto the power, and maximise the exit here, which leads you all the way down the straight, you know, and your first, again, real braking zone is the hairpin. So you can really make or break a race here.
Yeah, and exactly. It's one of the long straights, or the longest straights on the circuit here in the Bentley Straight, of course. So, again, critical for lap time.
Exactly.
Great to see Max Maserati there, linking up with Piers prior to look at some of the complexities of the track here at Snetterton. I'm now joined by Sam Rayner, who works with 3 of the drivers here, a couple of them behind us, Nico Christodoulou and James Headley, but also David Morales as well. Tell me what you do around the paddock, because you know you're kind of very, very busy all the time.
Yeah, so I run their social media accounts, and I help them with a bit of marketing as well. And no, it's great. I run their Instagrams and a bit of their Facebook and Twitter as well, and create content for them. And I come to all the race weekends, and yeah, I'm very busy running around constantly, but I love it. It's so much fun.
I've seen, you know, drivers do their different types of social media, and some drivers keep it minimal, and the guys you work with, they've got some really cool, especially Nico Christodoulou, got some really cool social media. So it's great to know that you're behind that. And, you know, I think that there's such a platform for these drivers, not only to be driving in this championship, but also to maximise the exposure they get. And I feel like, you know, you guys really hit the nail on the head there. How did you start working with these drivers?
Nico Christodoulou is actually a family friend from back in Canada. So when he came over to race here last year, my family got connected with his dad, and I was coming over here to travel anyways. So after I did a bit of traveling, I came to Spa and met the team, and I've been coming to pretty much all the races with them ever since. And yeah.
And I'm obviously, you know, assuming you're a massive motorsports fan. How did you? What was your first race you think you watched? Maybe not live, but maybe on the TV.
I only got into motorsport during COVID.
Really?
Yeah, my parents started watching Drive to Survive, and they said to me, "We think you'd really like this." And I was like, cars racing around in circles. No, that doesn't sound like me.
Okay.
Watched the first episode, got absolutely hooked, started watching all the historical races, learning everything I could about the sport. So yeah, only the past 2 years have I been in this world, but I love it so much. Yeah.
You mentioned watch yourself there, but don't get run over. You mentioned that you came over from Canada because you're studying in the UK.
Yeah, so I'm going to London South Bank, and I'm doing marketing and digital advertising, but specializing in motorsport marketing, which is incredible. You can't get that back in Canada. If you want to work in motorsport, you got to be over here.
Yeah. So what is the aim going forward? You know, when you finish that course? You know, you're working with these guys at the moment. You're going to follow their careers, or are you looking to? Is there something in mind? Is F1, you know, what got you started? Where you want to end up?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be happy just staying with these guys. I'd be happy working F1's obviously the dream, but yeah, being in motorsport is exactly where I want to be. So I would pretty much be happy doing anything, really. But this, like, the marketing and PR side of everything is, it's what I want to do.
Final question: have you been able to go around the track? Has anyone taken you around one of these tracks in the UK in a car?
No, I haven't actually gone around a track yet, but I have been on the sim at the Arden factory, so that's been fun. I'm not good.
No, I was going to say, how do you rate?
I'm not good, and I'll play on my Xbox as well, but I'm not great. I wouldn't want to be in one of the cars. I will be doing the marketing and PR side of it, and I'll stick to that. But if somebody wants to take me on a hot lap, I wouldn't say no.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surely one of the 3 drivers you work with could potentially maybe take you in a hot lap. I mean, I've not done a hot lap here. They don't let me. I've gone round in a transit van, but that was very, very slow with the indicators on, so it wasn't ideal. Sam, great to chat to you. I mean, people will see you in the background, I'm sure. You know, when your drivers are doing well. James Headley obviously doing very well in that first race, and you were in the background there as he was celebrating with his family. And you know, keep an eye out. And you know, when you're looking at Nico Christodoulou, James Headley, and David Morales' social media. This is the person behind it. Thank you very much, Sam.
No problem, thank
I
you.
mentioned that you haven't been around the track. Let's, for people watching, see what it looks like from the driver's perspective to go around the track here at Snetterton.
Let's ride on board a lap of the Snetterton 300 circuit with our pole sitter for race 1, Matthew Rees. A long run down to turn 1, which is Rich's almost flat out through turn 1. Nipped the first apex, missed a second. The speed through here is incredible this year with these new cars. And then we brake hard down into the Wilson hairpin. Some differing lines from different drivers here. Some go out wide and cut back, some go in early. Rees decided to go early this time. Then turn 3 of Palmer's. It's a high apex speed corner here, banked and raised on the exit, but watch out for track limits as there is a sensor there. Slight kink down towards Agostini, the second overtaking opportunity on the lap. Again, a long apex hairpin, so missed the first part, grabbed the second. Traction is important on the way out. Now next we have Hamilton as a medium speed corner, very narrow, very tricky to get right, a little bit of movement through the apex, watch the track limits on the exit, and then the bumpy braking of Oggies, which goes on and on and on, bumpy on the exit as well, so traction is tricky. Now potentially the most important corner on the circuit, Williams, which heads out onto the long Bentley straight, over half a mile of flat out running now to pick out your braking point for Brundle and Nelson under the bridge. We're completely flat out over 140 miles an hour, braking very, very late, get into the apex early for Brundle to open up the entry of Nelson. Again, traction is important on the exit. A car gets out our way on the inside as we go flat out down the undulation, down and up through the bomb hole. The car will bottom out through there. Only 2 corners to go, starting with Coram, completely flat out, high G-force through here, very hard on the neck, and then braking, try and keep it nice and tidy for the exit of Murray's, and that is a lap on board our pole sitter for the Snetterton 300 circuit, over 105 miles an hour average speed.
Well, great for Piers to show us what the track's all about here. Just at the assembly area, you can probably hear behind us the car's just about to go out. Piers, championship leader Callum Voisin on pole position.
Yep.
The blue car you can see there, Timek Kaharczyk.
Yep.
Been very, very fast in testing, number 7 there that we're looking at on screen. I feel like, you know, he's going to cause some problems from the start.
Yeah, he's been fast all season, was fast in testing, didn't quite get a lap together that he wanted for his first fastest lap. However, his second fastest was right up there with Voisin. I think whoever gets the best start is going to lead, and someone will probably have the race lead. But interesting to note that both JHRs and Noah Ping from the second row of the grid have 2 left-hand side new tyres.
Yeah, well, we can see there the Red Bull branded car of Suta Aral struggling, having some issues there. I don't know whether it's electrical or what they're trying to get on there. All the cars going out around him. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can get that car going. Piers, what could that be, do you think?
He's probably just stalled it out of the grid, and it looks like he's going again. Yeah, all good. So that car will be fine now. It's just the engineers jump in there with an extra battery pack just to help jumpstart the car.
Excellent stuff, Piers. I'm going to let you run off there. We see all the other cars coming out here. It's race 2 in the GB3 Championship here at Snetterton, so let's go racing.
Well, Snetterton Sunday is upon us, and it is Callum Voisin that will be starting from pole position. He's only just taken over the championship lead, and what can he do from that pole? There was talk yesterday of various drivers looking after tyres, thinking about the long weekend ahead, the potential of rain on the horizon as well. As we look down towards the grid, you can see there is no rain around at the moment. It's slightly cooler than yesterday, around about 22 degrees out there. Track temperatures a little warm still as well. Don't you worry, these cars are still dancing around a fair amount, but it's a little cooler than yesterday. There is still potential for rain. It is more towards the end of the day. Whether it will hit us before race 3, who knows? All we do know is we've got a fantastic race on our hands. I will just point out one driver on all of this, of course, on the left-hand side, about 4 down. That's where James Headley is starting in this race. He started 4th yesterday and managed to work his way up to the race lead through a fantastic race start. He has to start from 7th today. It's a lot of work ahead of him, but a driver that is moving forward, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for him that maybe he's got a little bit more in the tank to get himself back involved in the championship fight, which is at the moment looking a little bit more like a 3-way challenge between Callum Voisin, Joseph Loke and Alex Dunn, all very close when it comes to the points, especially those top 2, just 5 points separating the top lot. They'll begin their formation lap, just the single formation lap today rather than the 2 yesterday, and it is Callum Voisin starting that one from pole position alongside Tomek Kuharczyk, who could be looking for a victory here for the Douglas Motorsports Camp. He's had so much good speed. What can he do? Alex Dunn 3rd in the championship will start from 3rd with Noah Ping alongside. Again, the transformative pace that he's shown over the last couple of weeks. Matthew Rees will start from 5th position with Costa Taparis after issues yesterday, finished down in 21st position. He'll be rolling off from 6th. Then race winning yesterday is James Headley starting from 7th, along with the championship leader coming into this round, now 2nd in the championship, Joseph Loke, starting from 8th. Mackenzie Cresswell and Suta Arau managed to get his car going from the assembly area. He'll be starting from 10th position with Zach Taylor and Nico Christodoulou, who lost his front wing yesterday. Unfortunately, a retirement from that race after that incident. He'll be starting from 12th. Michael Shin and John Bennett, who's been struggling around the circuit in his road in Carlin, on the 7th row of the grid. Then Oliver Stewart, who again, flashes of great pace, had some great racing yesterday with Jared Waberski starting alongside Gerard Shea in 16th spot. Ayota Iwasaki and Jared Waberski in 18th position for the Fortec Motorsports car. Then in 19th position, David Morales. Rounding out the top 20 is Edward Pearson in the 2nd of the Fortecs. It has not been a good weekend for them. Lucas Styko in 21st, Arthur Rojon in 22nd for the Chris Dittman Racing car. And then down toward the back of the grid, we've got Daniel Mavliatov and of course Max Esterson, who struggled to get any laps in qualifying. He'll be starting just ahead of Sean Rashid, who's starting from the 25th and final position. Like we say, it's a bit warm out there. It's not as hot as yesterday, but as we've felt out there, it can be a little bit, it's still quite thick, it's still quite humid, it's still quite warm. Obviously taking you through the commentary for the weekends, myself, Lewis McGlade, alongside me is Piers Pryor, and yeah, it's still quite toasty out there.
Oh, it's warming up quite quickly actually at the moment, I'd say. It's very muggy out there, a bit of rain overnight, but the track is completely dry and we are ready for another race. It's going to be interesting to see who gets away from the line the fastest. We saw a great start from the 2nd row of the grid yesterday from Headley and obviously took the win yesterday, but as I mentioned on the grid, Lewis, I don't know if you heard, but 2 new left-hand side tyres for Noah Ping on the 2nd row and also both JHRs.
Yeah, that, I mean, to be fair, that doesn't kind of doesn't really shock me that much. Noah Ping has been looking really, really fast. If he's got anything in hand, he will be desperate to take it. Maybe it's his turn for a race win. Obviously, Tomek Kuharczyk being another one of those potential race victories. We know that would go down very, very well with quite a lot of the people watching. Kuharczyk, who of course sits 5th in the championship, only with 1 podium, and that was a 3rd place finish. This could be a victory for him. Could he deny Callum Voisin, who is the championship leader with 6 podiums so far in 2023. The final few cars are going to get themselves into position. The likes of Edward Pearson, of Mavliatov, of Max Esterson and Sean Rashid down at the rear of the field. And then control will be handed to this man, Callum Voisin, starting from the front row once again, but this time it is pole position. It is the inside line going into that first corner and that run down towards Riches and of course the Wilson hairpin. The race will get underway, round 11 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, and we are underway. It's not a great start from Costa to Piers, who's going to drop backwards in that number 43. Already a lot of ducking and weaving, because it's a great start from Kuharczyk. It's a great start from Headley once again, who's got to the outside of Matthew Rees heading through the first corner, but Kuharczyk could be taking over the race lead here for that Douglas Motorsports car. He's not quite done it. He's looking down the inside, though. He's committing to try and get one done on Callum Voisin. As we depart the Wilson hairpin, there's going to be side-by-side for the race lead, but it is the Rodin Carlin of Callum Voisin hanging on to that race lead.
Just about hanging on to the race lead there from Timo Kuharczyk, as we see Loke getting squeezed on the exit of Palmer's. Yeah, Kuharczyk got a good exit, tries to go around the outside, but Voisin far too wide for that. A big lock-up into the second corner, the big stop at Wilson for Alex Dunn in third place actually, so potentially his tyres a bit damaged, but fighting still all the way down the field.
I think he is now in fourth position. I think he has dropped back behind Noah Ping after a decent translation on the start. Joseph Loke taking a defensive line, trying to hang on from Mackenzie Cresswell in his Elite Motorsports car. There's Max Esterson going on the attack. I see Iwasaki he's trying to make his way past on. As we head out onto the Bentley straight, focus there on Matthew Rees trying to work his way forward. He was trying to go for a race win yesterday, was unable to do so. This time though, it's about the attack from Headley in that number 4 car, trying to get past Alex Dunn. That's a big centre, trying to get around the outside of Brundle into Nelson.
Yeah, you really need a full overlap to get around the outside of Brundle and Nelson, especially a driver of the class of Alex Dunn. We know how good he is at racing. We've seen it at Spa, but also a great start once again from James Headley. I think he jumped a couple of positions, or if not, at least went forward at the start, and he was fighting the cars ahead. So clearly got that Arden VRD car hooked up off the line.
Yeah, it looks absolutely stunning. Again, he had really good speed off of it. So too did Noah Ping. Ollie Stewart though, with that is not a puncture, that is broken rear left suspension as well. So clearly some form of car contact.
Yeah, there's fighting going on further down the field. I think that's one of the Hill Speed cars. Yeah, I think that is alongside. I think that might be Edward Pearson potentially, or is it Max Esterson? Let me have a quick look.
I think it might well be. Well, Esterson's taking a bit of a defensive line. It's Gerard Shea trying to get past Max Esterson. Here's some side-by-side, though, as we've got Arthur Roujon and David Morales going side-by-side. Morales around the outside. This is a very scrappy fight. The number 77 JHR Developments car that is being driven by Morales, heading through Palmer now, desperate to try and hang on from Roujon, who started out the season in fantastic form back in Alton Park and has not been able to quite recapture that.
No, he had a great start to the season, the driver that's not done a huge amount of car racing, or if any at all before this season, and he had a great showing at Alton Park, showing some great pace for that red, black and yellow Chris Dittman racing team, but unfortunately qualifying didn't quite go his way this week, and Zach Taylor's been the fastest of that trio this weekend, in 10th place currently behind Cresswell, but it's still nose to tail pretty much first down to, I don't know, even look, down to about 14th place. There's less than 0.3 or less than half second between most of the drivers, and the closest battle in the top 5 is actually for that 4th place between Headley and Dunn, but that looks like the number 23 sliding wide there. That is Michael Shin holding off Christopher Dooley once again. Christopher Dooley having a go at trying to make his way past, and that is Oliver Stewart, who has unfortunately retired the car.
That is no shock. Like I said, when the rear suspension's put up, if it's a puncture, they can get that one sorted. But if it's suspension, yeah, you are definitely out of the race. So it's a big shame for Oliver Stewart. Not sure who he made contact with, but either way, we carry on. We complete the second lap of racing, and the top three really have actually got a bit of a gap. Fastest lap coming in from Callum Voisin, Kuharczyk and Ping, keeping them quite close in tow. The switch over of positions as Nico Christodoulou is still trying to work his way past Shin into that first section. This is up in the battle for 4th position on the road. It is Alex Dunn ahead of James Headley, yesterday's winner, Matthew Rees, and then the person that was leading the championship coming into this round was Joseph Loke. He's now 5 points off the championship lead, but after a race like this, if Callum Voisin is going to win, that gap will be significantly larger.
Yeah, that gap is going to extend out, and it'll be great to see Callum Voisin take his first win of this season. We know how fast he's been. He's had a couple of pole positions, always been there or thereabouts, as Rees runs ever so slightly wide on the exit of Agostini, but just hasn't quite managed to get a win so far, despite his, I think it's 6 podiums up till before this race, wasn't it?
Yeah, 6 podiums this season. Of course, he has had 3 victories before, all of them being last season, so we know Voisin's got the ability to win, and in fact he did win on the road a couple more times before post-race penalties or a couple of other little issues that would flip them around. I remember he won the 3rd race at Spa before that was reversed and went the way of the GOAT, Tommy Smith, not Lewis Hamilton, don't worry about it. But either way, Callum Voisin, he's in a strong position right now. We know it's quite difficult to pass in that top lot, especially when you're kind of comfortable, you're not tripping over each other. Voisin's got a lot of pressure though from Kuharczyk, who I absolutely know. I've checked the YouTube chat. I'm a modern boy. I can keep up to date with modern technology, and I've seen the YouTube chat. Kuharczyk is a popular man.
Clearly, it's great to see all the fans from Poland. If you're listening from Poland right now, drop us a message in the chat to let us know you're supporting or who you're supporting. It's probably Timek Kuharczyk. Probably.
Dzień dobry.
I don't speak Polish.
I think that means good morning or...
Talking of Timek Kuharczyk, definitely piling some pressure on Callum Voisin. This is the closest he's been since the start of the race and was actually feinting for a move, and he's looking at the inside of the Wilson head, but whoa, so close to the back of Callum Voisin.
Yeah, that was really, really close. He tried that on the first lap, it didn't work. He's tried that here on lap 4, it didn't work. Kuharczyk with the fastest lap of the race, both of them pulling away from Noah Ping. That is a monster, absolute monster lap time from Kuharczyk. I mean, the top two are so much faster than everyone else at the moment. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, the second fast lap of the race was Callum Voisin. He was the only other driver in the 41s on a 41.9. Everyone else on a 42.1 or slower. Timek Kuharczyk on the last lap, 41.511, over 4.5 tenths faster than our leader, Callum Voisin. That's why he was so close into sector number 1 on this lap, and why he was able to effect a move. The middle sector is so hard to follow closely. That's why that gap is ever so slightly extended, as you can see on screen right now. But he'll be looking to use the toe, the slipstream of the car in front. But saying that, Noah Ping isn't too far off in the background, and we know he has those 2 left-hand side new tyres. I say new. There were very few drivers that had brand new tyres, and I think Edward Pearson was one of the only people that had stickered tyres. But a lot of the teams will scrub the tyres in qualifying, so literally put a brand new set on, roll around for a lap, maybe 2, just to get that release agent off the tyre, so that they come in a bit quicker, and also so that teams can't see exactly which tyres they've got on. But I've got my ways, Lewis. I can tell a scrub from a used tyre, and Ping definitely had 2 new left-hand side tyres.
An experienced man yourself. That's why you're in the commentary booth, and that's why you assist John, is because let's be honest, he wouldn't know.
This is when we hear from the teams and find out that I'm completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
All I will say for Noah Ping, just a quick touch on him, because of course he has got a race win. He did win the 3rd race at Silverstone. But anyone saying, "Oh, Lewis, what are you talking about when it says Turner Pace? He's had a win this season." No. This is oh my goodness!
The leader,
it's Callum Voisin.
Oh my God!
So Noah Ping has taken over the race lead. It's another time that is broken suspension. So there is almost certainly be contact. I've got to say, I mean, I'm not a detective. I'm not a race steward or anything like that. But I can almost guarantee Kuharczyk has sent one down the inside into the hairpin. It's gone too deep, and they're just going to pluck that suspension up. They got locked together. That's
very late from Kuharczyk. They're so wide at that point in the corner. Kuharczyk must have braked really, really late. And Voisin then is on the marbles and just trying to stay out of the way. He's well off the racing line, and that is...
surely a safety car.
That is race done, an almost certain safety car. In fact, the safety car has been deployed. Callum Voisin is going to be absolutely raging with that, because there's nothing really he could have done there. It was enough of a gap. Fair play to Kuharczyk for having a go, but at that point in the corner when Kuharczyk is already past the apex, hasn't made the apex of the corner, and is still understeering, he should have just relinquished the position, but unfortunately tried to keep his foot in and force Voisin wide. And we've seen that time and time again. In fact, the first round last season at Alton Park, front wheel to rear wheel contact when you're locked together like that just sends the rear suspension, it just obliterates it basically, and that is really, really unfortunate. Timek Kuharczyk has moved down a couple of positions. He's now in 3rd, potentially with a bit of a hobbled car, maybe some bent steering arms or something, but that is the end of the race for Callum Voisin, and
such a shame.
He's still in that car, probably just sitting there thinking, how has this happened again? It feels like, remember race 3 at Alton Park, he got jettisoned. I can't remember who it was at that point. He's just trying to mind his own business and doing all he can, and unfortunately, in this instance, is going to take a big hit in the championship for that, and he, for largely no fault of his own. Again, I can't say definitively, but I would say looking at the replay we've seen so far, that is largely on Timek Kuharczyk's fault, and I think he'll probably be getting a penalty for that if I was the steward.
Yeah, of course, the stewards will be able to see onboards and such as well, so angles that we're not afforded on the broadcast as well. So there's a couple of other things they could look at. Also getting
data, telemetry.
Statements, yeah, exactly. There's a lot more that goes into stewarding rather than looking at the pictures. What we look at and go, it's definitely his fault. So
yeah, we are purely. Well, our job is not to be a race steward or a race director.
Here we are, penalty, disqualified, he's banned, you've got your win. Yeah, it's a popularity contest. No. Of course, the race stewards are much better than we are. This will now, because of the safety car, always with the GB3 Championship partnered by the BRDC, as much as they are races that are done to a lap count, there is also a timer behind the scenes. So it's a 20-minute race. This will almost certainly become a timed race.
Lewis, you talk us through it this time. Yeah, he went in quite late.
Yeah, I've got to say, I mean, Voisin... I was going to say Voisin might have turned in, but that's me like trying to be like devil's advocate.
And look how wide they are at that point of the corner.
100%, in my opinion, that's... Sorry to all the fans, that is a Kuharczyk issue.
Yeah, because you see the point where they made contact. Voisin would never have been on that side of the circuit if Kuharczyk hadn't have been right on his inside. So therefore, Voisin was doing all he could trying to avoid that incident.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, whether Kuharczyk had a bit of understeer, whether he just tried to get on the power a bit early, I'm sure the contact will not have been deliberate. Kuharczyk, we know can race well, but it's just one of those where he's trying to push for a win. We know how hungry he is, and he can fight hard. We've seen him come through the field on a number of occasions this season. But just that, in that instance, I think he's just pushed a little bit too hard, and unfortunately that's ended the race for one of our championship leaders.
Now, let's talk championship for a second, because this is where things are going to get really, really juicy.
Tasty.
Because, of course, this will be... So, Callum Voisin will almost certainly lose the championship lead. He's got 5 points of a championship lead. He'll almost certainly lose that now, unless some really crazy things happen. But it's about how much it's all going to start closing up, because... Third position in the championship is Alex Dunn at the moment, and off the championship lead he is 19 points. It's 35 points for a race victory, 30 for second, so he'll be scoring 30 now, so he's thrown himself right back into championship contention.
He'll be in the lead if we don't, before we have considered Loke.
Exactly, before we can see, he'll absolutely overtake Callum Voisin. Loke is in 6th position, which I can't remember
for 6th. Hang on, I've got it here, Lewis. You keep rattling on, I'll find the championship points.
Joseph Loke is 5 points off of the championship lead at the moment, so he will almost certainly retake it. 17 points for him. 29, by the way, it is for... so he'll go to it... So
Dunn will move up.
Just never trust a commentator's maths. Dunn will move up to 10 points clear of Voisin.
Yes. Loke will get plus 17 from his position.
So he'll go 11 points clear. So he'll be 1 point in the championship lead.
So it will be Loke 1 point ahead of Dunn, about 10 points ahead of Voisin. And then Headley's not far off either, I think, actually.
Headley is...
He's in 3rd.
Headley's on 178 points. He's actually 40 off of the championship.
Okay, so but he's then will still move closer because he's going to get 24 points, assuming they finish as they are. But we are going to go racing again, I would imagine. So this is all as it stands.
Very high, but very hypothetical based on where we are at the moment. Not considering
we'll still have, I would imagine, we'll probably go not the end of this lap, maybe the end of next lap. So that would still leave us 3 racing laps.
Yeah, obviously dependent, again, as I was saying before, it is going to be a timed race at this point.
So maybe
it'll be 20 minutes of racing. We're just going to wait for all of it to behind the scenes. Obviously, race stewards and stuff need to tick everything off and see how it's going. But with it being a 20-minute timed race, obviously it's a very busy weekend here at Snetterton. There is currently 7 minutes left to go in the race. So obviously there's not enough time to do the allotted laps. But I think you're absolutely right. I think we'll get probably 2, maybe just 3 laps left to go in this race.
We'll keep you updated as soon as the timing screens update for us as well. But for now, let's run through the order as it stands, shall we?
Yeah, certainly so. Well, Noah Ping is leading the way. Alex Dunn and Kuharczyk, obviously, everything very provisional about that at the moment, but Alex Dunn will be behind. Kuharczyk in 3rd position. 4th, James Headley. 5th, Matthew Rees. 6th position is Joseph Loke. Of course, he came into Snetterton as the championship leader. He is in 6th position at the moment. As much as he's relinquished the championship lead, he might find himself back in it after this race. Mackenzie Cresswell in 7th. Costa Tapara is having a much better race here in 8th position. Zach Taylor and Michael Shin rounding out the top 10. Then it's Chris Dudulu, then Suta Arau, John Bennett moving up a single position from the race start into 13th. Jared Waberski, by the way, he's been working his way forward so many times in these races. He is now up to 14th after starting, I think it was around about 20th, 21st position. Then David Morales, Arthur Roujon, Yota Iwasaki in 17th position. Then Pearson in 18th, Esterson in 19th. Gerard Shea, unfortunately, down in 20th. He's got more pace than that. Mavli Atop in 21st. Styko and Rashid, 22nd and 23rd. Obviously, 2 retirements from this race. One of them is Callum Voisin. There he is. Oh, well, there's his car anyway. And the other one being Ollie Stewart coming into the pit lane. Both of them through car contact. Ollie Stewart's more suspected. We haven't seen it, but almost certainly car contact with how the suspension was pulled off. Both of them, though, from rear suspension failures after car contact. Like you say, if you have front to rear contact like that, it just pulls that rear suspension off.
There's nothing you can do.
That's the car. There's so much torque going through the rear wheels that when you hit another wheel like that, you just basically you get grip. The car gets pulled over the top of it.
Yeah, well, you think about if the back of the front wheel is travelling up and the front of the rear wheel is travelling down, so when they meet, the rear wheel gets sent into the air and the front wheel gets sent into the ground, and upwards brakes the suspension. So that's one of the natures of single-seater racing, unfortunately. You see it in Formula One, you'll see it in the higher categories. It's just one of those things, and something that these drivers will be learning as they drive. A lot of these drivers are very early on in their racing careers. Of course, as we know, some of the drivers haven't even raced cars before this season, I don't believe.
Okay, so yeah, again, let's dumb this down for people like myself who obviously never raced open wheelers. For a lot of people who you might watch touring cars or GT Action, where of course you've got fenders and stuff over the wheels.
Fenders? Bumpers.
Bumpers, it's all the same. I went very American there.
Yeah.
How hard is it to judge how wide the car is? Because obviously your reference is more about the shadow, what you've got ahead of you, where your feet go, and then you've got your wheels obviously there or thereabouts. It's kind of hard to work out spatial awareness, no? Or is it actually quite easy?
It is tricky in one way. I mean, the more you drive the cars, you can feel exactly where the wheels are when you're driving. You can, in the driver's seat, you can't see a huge amount. You sit so low that basically all you can see is the tops of the front tyres. You can't see the front wing. You can basically see your rear view mirrors, and in your mirrors you have your wheels. But the cars go quite a long way back behind you. You sit directly in the middle of the car, or your head is in the middle of the car, as you can see on circuit. There's a lot of car behind you, so it's hard to judge sometimes where exactly your rear tyres are in terms of length. Width, the drivers will be absolutely pinpoint accurate because they can feel the width. When you roll up onto a curb, when you slide, you can feel exactly where they are. But that's what causes sometimes a bit of miscommunication, when people's front wings just get chopped off by rear tyres and stuff like that. So yeah, it's one of those things that, again, the drivers will get more and more used to the more races they do in this championship or as a whole career in single-seaters. And every car is slightly different. You know, the GB3 car is, for example, slightly longer than the GB4 car, etc. And if you do other championships, it slightly varies. But you get to know your car. You become one with it. And that's and unfortunately, if you don't quite know exactly where it is, or you misjudge your turning, you end up with a car damaged, as we just saw Callum Voisin's there.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, you really know how wide the car is when you start making contact with the car that's next to you. And of course, obviously, vary in open wheelers, vary in size. Like say GB3, they're actually they're quite small when you compare it to say like an Indy car that is big, and then you get to Formula One, which are stonking. It's basically the fact that I think the footprint of a Formula One car is bigger than my car at the moment, and that is terrifying.
Yeah,
because my car's not that small, but that is huge.
You mentioned that the GB3 cars, they're not particularly big, and that's one of the things why they feel so good to drivers, because they are very light. I'm just trying to find the exact weight, but I'm pretty sure it's about 600 kilos wet weight. So anyway, we're getting ready to go. Lights on the safety car. Noah Ping takes control of the pack.
Yeah, so they're going to head through Coram, they're going to head through Murray's, and with the time, it takes about 1 minute 40 seconds to do a lap, which means with 2 minutes and 20 left on the count, we will have 2 laps left to go in this race. I know Noah Ping is going to go as slow as possible to try and make it one, but it's not going to work. He now pounces. They head through the final corner at Murray's. The race is restarted, and we begin once again with round 11 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Noah Ping with an excellent restart to this race, and Alex Dunn is being left in his wake. He's trying to pull away. He's trying to look for his second victory of the season, is Noah Ping. A second victory of the weekend as well for the Arden VRD team after Headley's victory in the previous race. And that was about as good as you want a restart for him. Kuharczyk looks straight down the inside of Alex Dunn, who takes more of a defensive line. It wasn't on the attack of Ping, it was on the defense of Kuharczyk, who is still aggressive going down to the Wilson hairpin.
Yeah, Ping with an excellent restart, showing no lack of experience in that regard. But Kuharczyk is still looking very racy in that blue car with the flashing lights on the rear. He's clearly got them on, but James Headley is looking for a manoeuvre. Kuharczyk feels the need to go defensive. Headley looks up the inside, not quite this time. I expect both Headley and Kuharczyk to be racy in this one.
Yeah, of course, Headley wants to get himself onto the podium, of course, for extra points, to get himself more involved in the championship. We've already said about how much it's going to close up as things stand. There's not going to be too much in it as they head through Oggies. A few other drivers that will want to move their way forward will, of course, be Joseph Loke, as there's some issues in the background.
Yeah, that is Artur Rojan going wide on the exit of the Agostini hairpin, just in the back of shot, so we'll catch up where he is, but we're continuing to look at this fight right now. And the two JHR cars. Loke is looking up the inside of Reese going into Brundle, as is Headley looking up the inside of Kuharczyk. 2 by 2 they go.
Ooh, this is very sketchy. So Headley's got to the outside. Headley's going to try and turn around. Oh, that could be a brilliant move on Kuharczyk as they depart the Nelson up towards bomb hole. Wow, that was so close. You don't see too many moves going around the outside. Inside for Brundle, outside for Nelson. That was a very good attempt from James Headley. It did not work on Kuharczyk. It's just cost them both time. They'll head through the final corner now and begin the final lap of this opening race on Sunday. And it is Ping leading by a comfortable margin. No mistakes from him, and surely the second victory of the season for him is on its way.
Yeah, it'd be great to see Ping win this one. It would be his first win, not in a reverse grid race. We see
Mackenzie Cresswell.
Oh no!
Bloke's gone wide. Oh, and he was going to retake the championship lead, but it's not going to happen now, and that's a big shame.
Oh, he's gone round again.
77, as that will be, unfortunately, 84 rather. That will be Joseph Loke going out wide, and he has dropped right to the back. He's behind even the likes of. It was one of the Chris Dittman racing cars that's further back here. That's huge drama for the championship.
Yeah, that is Cresswell looking up the inside. Cresswell must have got a really good exit, or Loke a poor exit out of the last corner at Murray's, because we didn't think that there was really a fight there, but Cresswell did everything right, put a wheel up the inside, had an overlap, held the inside, didn't force Loke wide, but Loke just carried a bit too much speed in, and we do still have a bit of a tailwind into turn one. He carried too much speed in, got on the marbles where those bits of rubber fall off the tyres and get on the outside, and once he was there, he couldn't control the car, and that was him off into the weeds, and then trying to reduce his time lost, ended up getting on the power a bit too aggressively and spun round once again, putting him right to the back of the chasing pack in, what's that now? It must be, what, 19th?
23rd. He's behind Arthur Rojon in 23rd position. It's so dusty out there, it's so slippery out there that if you try and get on the power whilst you're out there, you're more than likely going to go for a spin.
What a race for the championship for Alex Dunn, just keeping out of trouble, and he's basically had a massive boost there.
This is the championship leader.
He will be the championship leader, but now coming out the last corner, that is Noah Ping for his second race of the season, the first in a non-reverse grid race. He will be over the moon.
Yeah, fantastic drive from Noah Ping, picking up his second podium. It's a victory again for Arden VRD. Alex Dunn across the line in second. Kuharczyk questionable in third, as there is a penalty post-race for Noah Ping. Oh no, it's fine. No, I think it's fine. It might not be. We need to double check. He just dropped back. I think it might have just been timing.
Yeah, that was okay. I think that was Lewis. I think that was on me. That was on me. I scrolled down on the timing just as we went over the line, and that Noah Ping, as far as we're aware, is the race winner.
Oh my
Provisional
goodness.
results, of course, and there is the dejected Joseph Loke. He is going to be disappointed, as will, of course, Callum Voisin. The only saving grace for Callum Voisin is he barely used any of his tyres in that race.
Yeah, it's incredible to think that the top two in the championship leave this second race of the weekend with 0 points. That is absolutely incredible. Noah Ping then, again, once we've calmed ourselves down in the commentary booth, is our victor. We'll take a look once again at Joseph Loke here. So he's wide, he's trying to hang on to the outside, but it seems like he, again, just overdrove it a little bit.
Yeah, Cresswell gave him enough room. Cresswell actually kept a little bit narrow on the second apex to give Loke space, but Loke just carried a bit too much speed in.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, we'll take a look at, once again, provisional results from the race, and of course it'll be Noah Ping on top, ahead of Alex Dunn and Kuharczyk on the podium. Very interesting to catch up with those. Of course, race control, I'm sure we'll be having a conversation with Kuharczyk and Callum Voisin as to that incident they had into the Wilson hairpin. James Headley in 4th position with Matthew Rees in 5th, then Cresswell to Paris inside the top 10 with a 7th place finish in this race, then Taylor, Shin and Krista Dulu rounding out the top 10 for the Arden VRD team. Suta Arau and John Bennett in 12th position. These didn't actually gain any major positions over the restart, more so just the one from Joseph Loke. Waberski, then Morales, Ayata Iwasaki in 15th position with Edward Pearson, Max Esterson, Gerard Shea, Mavliatov and Styko rounding out the top 20. Sean Racide, Arthur Rojon and then Joseph Loke. He was looking to retake over the championship lead, but 23rd will net him 0 points. Callum Voisin, the championship leader coming into this race, the top two in the title race, dropping down the order courtesy of 0 points. The final one on that list was, of course, Oliver Stewart, who scored no points and obviously retired from the race after an issue on that very first lap. Wow, that is genuinely incredible. That is It was an exciting race, that is for sure. Of course, Kuharczyk was at the centre of attention after a few moves. He gave it a few attempts to try and get past Callum Voisin. He'll pull into third position. And of course, very interested to find out what has happened and what he thinks of that incident. Whether he thinks he wasn't given enough room, whether he thinks it was fair enough, whether he thinks that he made a mistake. We'll have to wait and see. Someone who didn't make mistakes through that race, though, absolutely is Noah Ping. A second race victory. The previous race victory was a reverse grid race, and everyone was thinking, oh, well, it's a reverse grid race, whatever about it. Noah Ping is a different driver this weekend. Arden VRD have got some serious pace. Cam on camera in the background, nice work. As Noah Ping, I mean, honestly, it's races like this that really get me G'd up. It's a driver that's maybe slightly out of position in the best possible way and showing exactly the talent level in GB3. When we say that pretty much every single driver on this grid can take victories this season, we are not joking. It is that strong, it is that potent of a field. These are all superstars of the future, and they are showing it on days like this. And like you say, obviously the team, Arden VRD, have been working very hard. That, I do believe, is Kuharczyk out of the car, and I can kind of guess that he knows that might be his fault. Not too happy with the race himself, understanding what'll probably happen post-race, which is a big shame. Of course, if there is a penalty post-race, then James Headley will be the one promoted onto the podium, as we'll catch up with our podium now, because Noah Ping is with Jon Jackson.
Yeah, thanks very much, Lewis. Second win of the season, but the first from a non-reverse grid race. That must be an amazing feeling for you, Noah.
Yeah, it's truly special. We kind of had that game plan going in. It's kind of just hit our marks, be smooth, and hopefully one of the guys will take each other out, and that's what happened. But I'm truly happy. I mean, we've had the pace all weekend. This VRD Arden team has been quick. I want to thank Dan, Mitch, Arden, VRD, all of them. And then more importantly, I want to thank my dad. Happy Father's Day to you. We couldn't do this without our dad, so it's truly special. I want to thank my brother, just everybody who does this. Sam Fieldman, my trainer, Pearl Performance, everybody. I couldn't do it without them. As
much as you benefited from the other two having that incident there, you have been very, very quick all week. What's clicked for you?
Honestly, just seat time. I mean, everybody's told me, and I've kind of been like, nah, that's not true, because I know I'm quick, but it has been seat time. I've done a lot of laps at this track, and I just feel comfortable. We're learning more and more about the car each and every session, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with this car. It's a big step from what I did last year, but as we can see that Arden VRD, Dan Mitch can do anything with a race car and make it quick, so it's very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got one more race coming up, the reverse grid race. How are you looking forward to that?
It'll be my first time not starting up in the front in the reverse grid, so it's just about survival for sure, and just see what happens really, and read and react for sure.
Very, very quickly, lots of people watching back home, getting up nice and early?
Yeah, I think it's 5 a.m. back home, so
you should probably say thanks.
Yeah, thank you for watching. I know it's early in the morning, and I know it's a Sunday morning as well, so they might be a bit hungover as well. So thank you for getting up, and thank you for supporting me. I appreciate it.
And I imagine you might be a little bit hungover tomorrow. Noah Ping, your race winner with Arden VRD. Congratulations. Let me move on. Let's find out new championship leader, Alex Dunn, apparently Alex Dunn has run off. So we're going to come and speak to Timek Kuharczyk. Hey Timek, great to see you here. I mean, that incident is all we need to talk about, really. How was it? How did you see it with Callum Voisin out there?
Yeah, I mean, I was quite far, but I went for it. I made a good dive, and then I was just right next to him, and I think he moved a bit on the brakes in the final stage, and then I think we were a bit too tight to make the corner, and then I've clipped his side spot with my left front, and he just kept going. And I think he jumped on my left front tire and spun around. But yeah, I couldn't do really much there. I couldn't really turn there because the corner was so tight. But I don't know. We'll have a look at it, I think, and then we'll see.
Now, we spoke earlier in the weekend, and you've shown great pace here. So, it's going well for you. There's a reverse grid race coming up later. And what do you think you can do?
I know. We'll see. I think the pace is great. I think we're the fastest on track. We were catching up on Callum, and then on the final lap we were catching on the first two. So we'll see. I think it's hard to overtake here, so it will be tricky, but I'll get my all.
Excellent stuff. We'll let you go ahead to the podium. Timek Kuharczyk with Douglas Motorsport coming third. Provisional result, as we say. And Alex Dunn, the new championship leader, and you benefited from the incident between Timek and Callum Voisin. But you've shown amazing pace both at Spa and here at Snetterton, and things have really clicked for you in this car.
Yeah, I think it's been a pretty good weekend. I think qualifying kind of hindered our chances of doing a little bit more. I think in practice and at the beginning of the weekend, I probably would have said we were one of, if not the quickest. And I think we made slightly the wrong call with tyres in qualifying, which made things a little bit difficult. But yeah, I'm still pretty happy. It
seems like this season everything is sort of coming together for you at the right time. Taking the championship lead here at Snetterton as we go into the second half of the season. That's a good time to be doing that.
Yeah, I knew Oulton was a little bit difficult for us, but I had no doubts that we'd be back to where we should be. I think we just kind of had to get our head around a few little things, and I think we're showing that now. So yeah, the pace is strong, and I'm feeling good. Excellent.
We'll let you get to the podium before I get waved by people in the background too much. Alex Dunn there coming second for High Tech. Great race there. Obviously, a lot of it was taken up by the safety car, but we still saw some exciting racing, and congratulations to Noah Ping. Absolutely amazing for him to win another race. A race that wasn't reverse grid, meaning he's done that on merit, on speed all weekend, and huge for Arden VRD as well. 2 races from 2. Lewis McGlade will now talk you through the podium where Noah will receive his trophy.
Cheers, Jonas. And yeah, interesting to hear Kuharczyk. Of course, maybe once he's seen replays and stuff, maybe I'll have a different opinion. Maybe he'll be more stuck in the opinion. Maybe he is right. Obviously, again, you've got a great view of it when you're in the car, and so maybe he is the one in the right. We do not know. We've got no word from race control because I think they again want to see the data. They want to see what has happened. They want to see as many angles as they possibly can. Kuharczyk will come into third position. I mean, he said it's difficult to overtake around here, but man, was he trying really hard into the Wilson hairpin, trying to put on quite the show. Into second place, Alex Dunn. Like you said, he's had a real turnaround. Struggled for the first couple of rounds of the season. Spa and Snetterton, though, he moves to the top of the standings. Noah Ping, though, with that victory, he is one of only 6 race winners in the season so far. Of course, Joseph Loke, Alex Dunn, then James Headley. We've had Ollie Stewart and, of course, Daniel Mavliatov. Noah Ping being the 6th of those. This is his 2nd race victory in the championship, the first from a non-reverse grid, and again his pace has turned around. Yesterday he was in 7th place in the first race, and now jumping to the top step of the podium. I mean, yes, I know he needed a little bit of luck from the top 2 to quite literally explode, but he's done a brilliant job to pick his way through the race. And let's take a look at highlights from a crazy second race of the weekend. Highlights from around 11 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Callum Voisin starting from pole position and leading his way down into the first corner. Timek Kuharczyk was going on the attack, trying to make his way through into the race lead, but was unable to do so around the outside of Richards. Certainly would give it a go, but it wasn't quite there. Headley moving his way forward, as were some of the ones from the mid-pack, trying to work their way forward in the earlier stages. Kuharczyk would try a couple of looks down the inside. Meanwhile, Alex Dunn having a big front right lock-up. Concerns for the high-tech Pulsate team, but thankfully everything was okay. The first lap was complete and Callum Voisin was leading the way. These two, though, were absolutely flying. Kuharczyk was close, Kuharczyk was flying, and Kuharczyk was down the inside. Unfortunately, some car contact as the two of them would get together coming through the Wilson hairpin, and it would be a retirement from the race for the championship leader of Callum Voisin. The rear right suspension pulled straight off the car, and then once we went under safety car, the race got back underway, and it was Noah Ping that found his way at the front. He was pulling away in the earlier stages of the restart after a fantastic one from Alex Dunn, and then looks to the inside. Mackenzie Cresswell down the inside of Joseph Loke, who would go for a spin through the first corner, finishing down and outside of the top 20, and no points for him. Noah Ping, though, was fantastic. He came through the final corner, he crossed the line, and he took the victory over Alex Dunn and Timek Kuharczyk. Well, we'll head down to Piers and we're catching up with some of the drivers as he sees his way around the paddock.
Once this weekend. However, we saw an incident on that last lap, or penultimate lap, with Loke going off, and you were up the inside. Just give us your opinion of the incident.
Yeah, so he made a mistake through Coram, and then I got a really good run out of the final corner. So I had the toe down the pit straight, and then it was sort of a guess of where each other would go. He defended, but not quite enough, so I went up the inside. He left me enough room, but then because of the GT rubber that's down, there are so many marbles on track. So if you go offline just a little bit, then you lose all grip. And then he just started to go wider and wider, and then he spun. It's unlucky because he was going well. We were both going well. There was no contacts, but it's just sort of how it is around tracks like this, on weekends like this. Yeah, I'm happy I moved up a place, and yeah, it was overall a decent race.
Yeah, it was a good overtake, and we actually chatted to Mike Epps, the driver coach for JHR, and he was pretty happy that he wasn't upset with you, so it's good to see there's a good amount of respect there, and unfortunately just a small mistake, and shows how costly they can be. But another good race for yourself. Reverse grid later on, what are you thinking?
Just anything or any place that I can make up, I'm going to go for it. Qualifying didn't go to plan, so I'm trying to salvage points from this weekend because it's so difficult to overtake, and we've lost a little bit of ground in the championship, so it's going to be tricky, but I'll give it everything I've got and hope for a good result.
Mackenzie, thanks for chatting to us once again. Well done in that race for another top 10 result there. I think we're going to grab John Bennett in just a second. Of course, John Bennett for the Road in Carlin team has been putting some good results. He's struggled a little bit in pace, but we'll chat to him and see how it's going. That's it, mate. Get your suit up, nice and smart. John, let's look at a tough race out there. You're on the back of a long train, almost like a DRS train in Formula One.
Yeah, it's always hard to overtake at Snetterton. It really all just comes down to lap one. And yeah, good standing start for myself again, but just always felt like I was in the wrong place on track. But didn't move backwards, and that's half of it on lap one. Yeah, and then after that, it is just following really. It's super hard to make a move. I mean, turn 2 and turn 4 would be the only places, but then there's a lot of dirty air at turn 1 and 3. So yeah, it was tough, and then obviously the safety car used up a lot of the race. But yeah, I mean, moved up yesterday and today, but just just all these weekends always stem from quali, and if you don't quali where you want to, then you're kind of done really. So, but yeah, looking forward to the reverse grid. So
yeah, exactly, the reverse grid coming up, and you mentioned there you didn't really move up many positions, but you did. You've got at least a couple from the people that went off, plus any potential penalties. So a lot of moving up if you're not quite qualifying where you are, and a track that's hard to overtake like this is just keeping out of trouble, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, qualified P14 in both, but then came P10 and P12. So, I mean, 6 places gained across 2 races at Snet is really like the most you can hope for. So yeah, I think we maximised where we were on track. Yeah, it's just not where I wanted to be on track. So. Of
course. And reverse grid, you mentioned it a moment ago. Do you know where you're starting, and what's the plan? Have you saved some tyres in the bag?
Yeah, so I think that'll be P12 for the reverse grid. We haven't saved tyres, but it will just be hanging on what we have left. I feel confident for it though. Obviously, passing the reverse grid can be a bit easier than in the main race. Theoretically, you should have more pace advantage on the cars that are in front of you. So yeah, it will just be about maximising lap 1 again, and then seeing who you can pick off from that.
We'll be keeping an eye on you in that race, so thanks for chatting to us, and we'll catch you later on. I think there's someone behind us, David Morales. David, that looked like there's a good fun racing out there. You're right in the battle, aren't you?
Yeah, no, it was pretty fun in the beginning. Well, because in these cars you kind of only get like 2 laps to do something fun. So made a couple positions in the start, made 3 positions. So it was a good start.
Yeah, all good. And you mentioned that quali didn't exactly go to plan. You're struggling with a bit on the car. However, you're making the most of it in the race. Reverse grid coming up. Is that kind of like your aim to try and get as best result as you can from that?
Yeah, no, reverse grid will definitely be a good race. I finally have the potential to just go forward from there. So goal is obviously to win it, but we'll see how we go, and I'm definitely looking forward to it because with qualifying, it's all that matters in this car, and when you're stuck where I am, it's not that much you can do.
Brilliant. Anyway, David, good luck in race 3. Thanks for chatting to us. Hopefully it goes well for you. And I believe we've got James Headley. James, another strong result, potentially could even go up further forward if there's some movement and shaking after the stewards' inquiries.
Well, you saw it, not me, but yeah, potentially, that's what everyone's saying. So that'll be good. Arden 1-2 shows off their hard work. I mean, it was up 1-3, sorry. But yeah, I mean, a massive good result for them, and shame really we didn't get the second on the road, because I did have an opportunity around the outside of Dunn, backed out of it, just a bit cautious, and then obviously Dunn got Timek after the incident. So yeah, a shame, but I guess still got lucky. So
I think, to be honest, you said you backed out a bit timid, but I don't think he would have given you any more room than you already had. It was a good move, a good effort. I've not seen many people go around the outside of Nelson before.
Yeah, you got to try, don't you? I said I'll give it something, but you don't want to take too much risk. I was already gaining such good points. So yeah, massive step on that championship lead, and gives us good momentum for the second half of the season.
I was about to mention, you mentioned it there, the points, of course. You're not far off in the championship. It looks like Dunn has now taken the championship lead, and you're going to be right in the fight now with both Voisin and Loke having struggling results that time. You got to be thinking, I can have a go at this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was thinking that, but even people, I can't speak now. Even people behind me can have a go. Like, I mean, Dunn's a prime example. You know, he was just chilling there, you know, in the first 3 races, and then all of a sudden 2 wins at Spa, and you're right back up there. It's all it takes in this championship. You get so much for winning that you can just really be nowhere, out of contention, and get a couple of good results, and you're right back in there. So, yeah, we haven't done too badly either, have we? So, yeah, we'll be good. We're good.
So tight, both in terms of lap time and the points. So thanks for chatting to us, James. Another great result. Looking forward to seeing how you do in race 3.
I was going to say also, we can see Mark Perry, your guy from Canada, your sponsor over here, having a great time. And I mean, you know, if you do end up getting another trophy there, depending on what happens, he'll be over the moon because that's 2 from 2, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's so great that he came over, and he absolutely loved his interview yesterday. So thank you guys for doing that.
I'll tell you what, if you get another trophy today, we'll get him back on. So there's a little bit of an incentive for you. Okay?
Fantastic. Might be half of a reverse grid. Just do a rain dance, please.
Okay, right, fine. We'll hope for some rain for James Headley then. I mean, Piers, from your sort of point of view, what are you thinking with that incident between Callum Voisin and Timek Kaharczyk? What do you think will happen there?
Yeah, I think I've said pretty much everything, my opinion on the incident. Again, we only get one view from the comms box, but it did just look like that Voisin did all he could to avoid Timek. Timek was within his right to go out the inside, and Voisin gave him room, but then at the exit of the corner, I think Timek was just a bit keen to get on throttle, and they were both very wide on the marbles. And ultimately, at that point, Voisin is given the space. He's on the outside of the corner. He's done all he can. You can't then jump off the circuit to get out of the way. So I think the blame, in my opinion, lies on Timek Kaharczyk's shoulders. Whether the stewards share that opinion is up to them. Of course, they get the onboards, they get the drivers' actual statements, because obviously we haven't spoken to either of them at length about it. So we'll see what happens. We'll obviously keep an eye on the GB-3.net website, because that'll be where all the updates are put.
Yeah, that catchy website, and also the social media as well, GB3 Championship. And obviously we have another race coming up a little bit later on where we will give you the full update as well. We've seen Zach O'Sullivan around, who's David Morales' driver coach. That's all right. We're going to go on a little Zach O'Sullivan hunt in just a little while, challenged by Richard Randall from the Championship. He wants us to go and find him. We'll find him somewhere. But there is another race coming up in the GB4 Championship. Cooper Webster will be on pole position for the second time this weekend. We'll be live just after midday as we have 3 more races across the GB3 and GB4 Championships coming up here for you at Snetterton.